All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Kakushigoto, episode 7. Last episode was freaking amazing.
It was really sweet.
Oh, it was so good.
Really, really good.
But also a heart-wrencher.
Yeah.
You know, in-laws and imposter syndrome and all of that stuff.
All that kind of stuff that spirals out of, well, not just your control, but out of sorts with regards to how you see your life. And then maybe you end up missing something that was simply just right in front of you all along. It's a really, beautiful story that we've been having thus far. And since we're now, about halfway through the first season, we've kind of been able to see that the main points that they've been pushing on our boy Kakushi is that there's a lot happening right in front of you. Mm-hmm. And because we, as the audience with our omniscient perspective, know that it's not going to last forever, treasuring it in the moment is really easy to forget.
Especially when you have such negative outside pressures that make you super insecure about what you do and make you feel like you need to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not relatable at all.
Nope. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, your daughter sees you, the real you, and doesn't recognize you.
Damn.
Funny joke, right?
Funny joke.
Yeah.
So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Well, this episode was wonderful. Yeah.
I really, really love how much this episode gave us in terms of not just foreshadowing, just stuff in general, but also really giving us the emotionally punchy, kind of cheap shots that were really kind of fun at times to be like, oh, yeah, that's a good one, that's a good one.
The 10 Commandments for dogs, and, only have 10 years to spend as much time with me as you can.
But then also the idea that could be just a direct kind of meta joke about how he only gets 10 years really to spend with Hime, maybe.
Sure.
That could literally be see, this line makes sense in a different context too.
Or depending on when the wife died, he only had 10 years to spend with her.
Sure.
Sure.
I think that the wife died a while ago though. That's why she doesn't remember too much about her.
Yep. But it's, and then you have things like, oh, you need a mom to take care of, a dog.
Why is it that these two gossiping moms, whoever these old ladies are, middle-aged ladies or whatever?
The thing is that
shit they say.
Yep, and I can't be too mad at them directly because they didn't know that she was listening.
No, it's just the fact that the mangaka is using them as the quick thing to
bearers of bad news and all things awful. That then taking me from being like, oh yeah, dog, I'm so excited, I'm training for when he tries to run and drag me away on a leash. To
sounds like a whip being cracked outside. I'm like,
what's going on
out there? It's like, Hime, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm training, Dad. Yeah.
I love the big just dad energy of hearing strange sound, but your child is the only one that should be here.
Right.
So confused about source of strange sound. Go to investigate. Still confused about why strange sound when you see what's going on, but you're like,
and yet there's a logic to it.
There is a logic to it, and they're like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. You're like, okay, just to let you know, you don't have to train for that. You train them would be to not do it at all. And it's like,
right?
Oh, okay.
And then
it's so cute.
And then seeing all the assistants getting so excited about the dog as well. They're like, yes. And then he's like, not getting it, and they're just, you liar, you bastard traitor.
I slaved away on this case.
Just instant tears just shooting down their face.
Crying as well. He's like, you weren't even there. He's like,
oh, he heard about it later and was more excited than any of us.
Because for him, it's the chore of having to come here constantly and work with a mangaka who's very backwards technology-wise and stuff like that. And just apparently no one really likes Kakushi.
Yep.
But then he's like, but if there was a puppy here, my interest in coming here would magnify 100-fold. You know?
I'm pretty sure that there is a legit business, like it is businessly, financially, like a good idea to just have a dog at the workplace as like the comfort dog. Yeah, the work
that
dog.
Everyone owns, but nobody owns.
Right.
But the boss owns,
and they can give him scritches and things like that. And it's
scritches,
just and it's just a way to basically like, oh, I'm having a bad day. Yeah, come here. Yeah, okay.
I love how you said scritches because that already tells you the type of vibe that the dog would create. Is the who gets a good scritches?
Yeah, exactly.
Good boy.
Yep.
Yeah, and the dog just.
Exactly. And it's like,
That's
you know,
amazing.
how much, you know, money would it actually take to supply? Not much. You know, maybe a bit, you know.
Nothing crazy. You know?
Right, nothing crazy. And then the idea of, but taking care of the dog. Well, oh gosh, I'm sure that no one at the office, you know, would want to pitch in
their time,
you know right? Like
be like, all right, on Tuesdays, it's your dog. On Wednesdays, it's your dog. On Thursdays, it's your dog. You know,
right?
Like, I've even worked in businesses where it's like corporate office and everything, and it's very small, like very small amount of employees. I think it was like 22 employees total, and like the times when anyone would bring their pet to the office and stuff. Every single person would make the trip down to their office, their cubicle or their whatever, and just be like, "Can I sit with him?" And they just spend their lunch breaks just sitting with the dog on the floor. You know. Now, like, these weren't for everyone because some of them were like old ladies who they couldn't actually just sit on the floor. But you'd see the people that be as old as like 48 to like 55. You know, just coming by, just being like, oh, yes. Standing, having their food, and then they'd be like, can I give them a little something? They're like, no, please don't feed him. Like, oh, okay. You know I would feed you if you
right.
Here, right? Exactly. It's
wonderful.
It's wonderful. It gives everyone a very uplifting, positive mood.
Exactly.
Just boost. And the aspect of having this be a thing where Hime has been alone for that small gap of time when she's done with school and you're not home from work.
Yeah.
And I love how, in some ways, Kakushi is so oblivious to, like, the little cues of clues that people give to him to connect with him on a more vulnerable level, or for him to connect with them. When Ichiko said, oh, yeah, the dog that I had, you know, in middle school that's now here, it's all, you know, grown up and stuff, is a big old boy. He was really helpful for me when I was at home alone, you know, for a lot of time growing up. And he could have been like, oh, what was that like? Really bonded with her, really found a cool connection point of like, oh, I worry about my Hime at times being in that kind of thing as well.
Sure.
Do you have any advice for me or something like that? Or is anything you would think that would be really helpful?
But all goes around in his head.
No, just blah, blah, blah. But instead, I guess he did end up getting her the dog.
Yes.
Now, he was going to get the dog regardless of whether or not Mr. Father-in-law brought the dog that was the direct descendant of the dog that his wife and then the father-in-law's daughter had.
Yeah. And that's good because then it doesn't feel like it's the benefit of the positive of the dog being from the dad and from, you know, the dog that his wife had, but none of the negatives of like, oh, I wouldn't have been able to get this if not for the dad. So, you know,
exactly,
he's responsible for Hime having a dog. It's like no. He's just responsible for it being this dog.
Right.
You know.
And it is a little bit of a way that he's trying to, on some level, do what I would call the buying influence into the family.
Right. And it's the you said yes to this other thing, so
now you'll say yes to this thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to ship a grand, like, nice piano over, like, classic piano, which is not a small thing. Once that's in the house,
not cheap.
Yeah, not cheap also, but once it's in the house, Hime's going to be like, oh, well then I'm going to adjust my life around this piano. It is a form of control and a way to say that you can't say no to me here.
And at the same time, it's maybe something where the father-in-law is, while he's not doing it in a very polite way, showing Kakushi the ways in which he is not acknowledging some of Hime's potential needs because he is not acknowledging really the existence of the wife, right? If he were thinking more, if he was more facing the fact that, you know, he did have a wife and now she's gone, right? That Hime had a mom and now she's gone. Yeah. He might have thought of like, oh, I wonder if she would be interested in playing the piano because apparently, you know, his wife was really good at playing the piano. Now that might have been something where it's just something that the dad saw, you know, when it's like when she's a kid and she never took it seriously later and whatnot.
Yeah, because maybe she never played piano really.
Yeah, you know, like that's totally possible.
When with Kakashi.
Yeah. Right, but it is also totally possible that she did, and you know, that was just something where, now granted, it's not like Hime needs a piano, right?
And that's a very good point, is that Hime never asked to learn a musical instrument. This is one of the things
she doesn't know what she doesn't know.
Yeah, that's totally true. I just know that this is one of those areas where parenting can get really gross. Is that they look at their kid and go, see, I know that there's gifting within you, that you have potential. You're special. You're not like everyone else. You could actually do something with this. So I'm going to take away your choice for what you do on maybe your Saturday mornings and your 7 p.m., you know, lazy fun time with your friends or whatever. Now that is piano time.
Right.
Non-negotiable. This is every, you know, and time that you know, time comes about.
And there are elements of, you know, where it's like, yeah, parents have to, you know, discipline their kids and, you know, make them do the stuff and brush their teeth and all the things that the kids might not want to do.
This is not survival based, Jacob. I know.
Yes.
I know. Just saying, this is one that I'm personally biased against, but you cannot compare this to brushing your teeth. This is very different.
Okay. Schoolwork then. You know.
Sure, there you go.
Right, you know, because do you really need to know the locations of the different capitals of all the countries in the world? You know, like,
yeah,
you don't really need to know that.
Right. There's probably a thing more where the comparison works with the schoolwork, not necessarily on the whether they need it, but it's still a survival thing with regards to job stuff in the future.
Sure.
But yeah, I totally get what you mean. It's a skill that will be helpful at some point, probably. Right. It's not defined as, 100% guaranteed, you know, but it is a skill that teaches some other things that are really helpful. But that all being said, the fact that the dad is using this dog as the inn
is
dirty. The piano is just potentially the first thing.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
There could be other things.
Right, because
awkward visits. Now he knows times when he's like, this is when you're not at home.
Well, I think that would be a really, really fast way to get
police involved. Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
I'm not talking about a thing of where he would abduct her or something.
No. But
I'm talking about the thing of where he would visit.
Right.
And just have it be uninvited. And be like, I'm the one that brought the piano.
Yeah.
And in some ways, police wouldn't necessarily do anything because if he didn't actually enter the premises unwarranted, like he just came out and visited outside the house and just sat with her.
Kakashi could probably get a restraining order.
Yes, but the thing is that the police would see him as family and be like, well, this is something you guys will probably need to handle internally.
I don't know. Yeah, that. Yeah,
I'm just really
it can
worried.
Get all kinds of messy.
Yeah, I'm just really worried about the dad.
Yes,
the father-in-law being more pushy.
Right, and I do see the dad as as being kind of the final boss of this season. Yeah. You know, like if
he's
we
the only real antagonist we have.
Exactly right, so, and if we were to have any kind of dramatis, conclusion, right, it would make sense to revolve around the dad. Now, that's something that I am actually kind of excited for because while I am positive that the dad will continue to do things where he oversteps his bounds, kind of, yeah. It's also that basically reminder to Kakashi of there's a lot of things that you're not communicating with Hime.
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, there's ways that this could be better. And it doesn't necessarily have to involve the father-in-law because apparently he is a shit human being, right?
Yeah, and we kind of have to take his word for it here because, like we were saying, the things that he's doing have manipulative aspects to them, but they are not in and of themselves shitty.
Right. Like it's something, overbearing for sure. Pushy, definitely, right? And so far, what we know of from the dad concretely is, that he's an artist and things like that, and that he didn't approve of Kakashi.
Yes.
But that in and of itself, that doesn't make one a shitty human being,
no,
right? Now, while
I'm sure
that
the fact that his daughter is dead,
well, I get the feeling that's an accident.
No, of course. But there's things that we can, things that we could potentially infer with regards to just the fact that the father is now maybe starting to make a little bit more of a push.
Maybe, I don't know.
It seems like a thing of where he's like, "This is surprising. Why are you like something where he has warded off this guy before?"
Sure.
But this is the time where he's now going full bore.
Yeah, if I were to guess, is that it would be something where at the worst is that basically the dad and the wife got in a fight because she wanted to be with Kakashi, and she made that decision and he didn't approve it and all that stuff, and some words were probably said and things like that and whatnot.
And I think okay.
And then after that point, I'm guessing the wife probably was the one being like, no, you don't get to be in our life then if you're going to be like that, right? And any times that he would have tried to initiate, one, he might not, because it would be initiating with the daughter who, spurned his teachings or whatever, right? But then once she's gone, then it's if I'm going to interact with anyone, it would then be with Kakashi, but then also, well, but what about my granddaughter? I want to see my granddaughter.
Right. My thought specifically is on the idea of I see a parallel with what they're doing here with the grandfather and Kakashi, in that Kakashi is eventually going to be gone from the story, unless they've been debating us this whole time, and Kakashi actually is just on a really long trip right now.
But
that would be evil.
But the teacher did not seem to be happy when she said there was bad news.
Yeah. So my initial thing is that the grandfather is a dark parallel for what's eventually going to happen with Kakashi, is that Kakashi is going to be gone.
Sure.
And it'll be too late, basically. And for the grandfather, his daughter is gone. And so for him, it's too late for him to fix things.
Right.
So they all are trying to treasure the time that they have. But the thing that probably, I would say, is why there's issues here was that the reasons he was shitty was not because he was shitty to Kakashi, but because he was shitty to his daughter.
Right, and that's probably why Kakashi wouldn't be able to forgive it.
Right, because if it was something where he'd done something to Kakashi, then I would see him being like, okay, we can at least eventually talk this through if you buy yourself back into my good graces here, I would say. Not literally, but you know what I mean.
But you time and
effort.
But you can't take back the things that you did with my wife.
You can't take back the things that you did to a person that is no longer here, so you can't make it up.
Yeah.
And then in that respect, Hime is the literal, she looks exactly like the daughter.
Yep, we had the whole thing with the painting. Yeah.
Right, which means that to the grandfather, he is literally trying to get his second chance with Hime, and yet Hime is not his daughter.
Right. That's sort of the dastardly thing about it.
Exactly.
Is that it's basically trying to take the easy route and not actually acknowledging the mistakes that he made or things like that, which in a lot of ways there are some parallels that can be made to Kakashi because the dad wasn't able to connect with his daughter because he did not truly acknowledge he
remember, we're making some assumptions here about the relationship between the two of them.
All right, assuming that it's because at the he didn't approve of Kakashi.
That's the main thing.
Right, that's the main thing we know, and I'm guessing that caused a fair amount of conflict.
Yep.
That's something where given that Kakashi also doesn't approve of Kakashi, and it has caused the relationship with his daughter not to be strained, but to not be as strong as it could be. Right, because there's elements of himself that he's keeping hidden from her.
There's a barrier.
Right, there's a barrier there. Well, then all of a sudden, eventually, it gets to the point where that barrier can't be overcome because you had your chance and it's too late. Right, and that the father-in-law had that because Kakashi's wife died. Right, Kakashi might end up having that because he dies. That's a nasty parallel, and the thing is that Kakashi wouldn't necessarily have any reason to see that until it's too late, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a whole mess that could end up not getting really untangled, but revealed to be so tangled.
Yeah.
Like, we need to see where it got tangled.
Right, like, and that's where I'm optimistic, because the fact that the painting shows up and Kakushi sees it, that forces him to address it, right? You know, then he has to actually talk to his assistants of, like, this is Hime's mother. Right?
Yeah, I just feel like because of the way they've done the dual timeline thing, we know what he doesn't tell her.
Right.
And so I'm not like saying I have no hope for Kakushi to build a stronger relationship with his daughter. I'm just more of looking at this from the kind of the sad aspect of a father who will have such a wonderful time watching her grow and become this wonderful person, and yet because just the time will eventually be cut off,
right,
the build up to that moment will not be necessarily direct. It will be something sudden and surprising, and it will, you won't be ready for it. It'll just happen.
And how could you be, right?
Yeah, and then it's the idea that you never plan for that kind of thing specifically.
Nope.
Like, people say hope for the best and plan for the worst, but that's not really how people live life. Like, people don't really plan for the worst.
It's more until such a time as the world ends, we assume it will intend to keep on spinning. You know?
Yeah, but when you're in the midst of crisis, maybe like your wife is dying, basically, for instance, then what you do is you try to plan to how you can reestablish a form of equilibrium. You basically realize that everything's topsy-turvy, and you're just like, can we just get it down to some kind of acceptable level of chaos?
Right, everything's on fire. This is fine.
Right. Everything's on fire, but we can go to sleep here tonight because, fire's not that hot, maybe,
Sure, yeah. And while we know that Kakashi will not tell Hime about his job as a manga artist before what we see in the present day at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
I am holding out hope that they will at least have a good heart-to-heart, honest conversation about Mom. Because
those things are separate.
Those things are separate. And that's really the more important thing.
I
right?
definitely
agree.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, when it comes right down to it, it doesn't matter too much if Hime knows about her dad's job, right? It's his passion, so it would be nice, right? But the main thing is that there is a gaping wound that has not been addressed, and if it's not being addressed, then how can it truly heal?
Yeah.
So
now to be fair, he doesn't need to be the one to heal it.
No, that's true.
This is the cold reality of life: is that your kids will outlive you, and eventually don't need you.
Yeah.
Or they eventually won't need you. And this could be something where it happens while you're still alive.
Sure.
And that sucks. In a lot of ways, this is kind of what's happening.
It's the dream in a lot of ways.
Well, no, totally. But that's what's happening. But I think that's because we're not parents. We're not really understanding the pain of that.
Yeah.
But for the grandfather here, that's basically where he realizes that he probably, he on some level deep down that he fucked up, was that now he's going to Kakushi and almost being like, in a very maybe proud way, because he's not admitting any of his faults, because we don't know what he's done that was so shitty. He's just like, well, this is just an inheritance thing, This is just what you get, because you're connected to our family. This is what, as a part of my lineage,
right?
Albeit not something I'm excited about or thrilled about. You do.
You are part of this family.
Or Hime is a part of this family. So she gets this.
Right.
And you don't really have a choice in the matter there. Like, this is going to show up anyway.
Right. He could always, ship it away somewhere else or whatever. But
if anything, he basically just said, well, I did it in such a way that Hime would see this and get excited. And now if you took it away, you'd have to explain to your daughter why you took it away.
Yeah, it showed up when he wasn't there. And then
that was probably intentional.
Right. And then now, thankfully, he didn't actually set up to have, he didn't do the whole setting up the teacher thing. It was the actual school teacher that was like, oh yeah, I know somebody that can help out. Or no, it was the aspiring idol.
Yes, I believe it was the high school girl that's like
right.
I'm
I'm gonna be an idol. It's gonna be awesome.
And she brings Chow.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if we have a name for them. We don't, but that was cool because they actually addressed them as they, and I was like, oh, cool. It's just I have no person.
Yeah.
that was sweet.
But it's something where, at the very least, that Hime's experience with the piano isn't something that's tied to the father-in-law, other than the fact that the piano is there, right?
Yeah, she doesn't necessarily know that the grandfather even gave it. So there is some boundary that's maybe been established. Maybe that's the thing, Jacob.
What?
Maybe he already actually can't come over.
Oh,
that's maybe the whole thing with this new place, though, is that it's not just that it's a new place. Maybe the other place has some like ownership thing or something like that. Because maybe he was, not always so popular way back when, and then he needed maybe some help from her dad and
and things can get all kinds of complicated once money starts getting involved into family and friendships and
that could just be another reason as to why he like switched places.
Right,
and
I want it to be exactly the same, but because
I'm
well off enough now that I can do that, but at the same time, I don't. Yeah.
There's some interesting things about the mystery aspect of this show that they handle really well in terms of how it's foreshadowed. And yet we still have so much we don't know, like to connect to the time.
I feel kind of like Hime in a way, because there are a bunch of things that Kakushi is keeping from us because he doesn't want us to know about that. It's not important, right? Why exactly the father-in-law is a shitty human being, we don't need to know. We know that he didn't approve. That's about it, right? We know that he drives by sometimes, and the timing for when he drives by, I hate it, right? Because it's like
it's like he's a predator that like circles and like watches from afar.
Right. It's like if he were truly being antagonistic and was trying to smell blood in the water or whatever, right? He sometimes couldn't be doing a better job of showing up when Kakushi's like kind of a bit low.
In a bit of a weak place, especially in the episode previous to this.
Yes.
This one, in some ways, he kind of tried to be the hero, to come in and be like, oh, which is something that's a little bit interesting, but I wonder, genuinely,
if he knew that they were talking about getting a dog?
If he maybe has someone that is close to Hime and Kakushi, that he's just being like, hey, just give me some info.
Like the teacher?
Literally the teacher, Ichiko.
Yeah, because he did mention wanting to get Hime a teacher for piano lessons, and then Ichiko got her a teacher for piano lessons.
No. Remember, was Ichiko? Ichiko is.
Or no, sorry. Yeah, no. That's right. We just talked about that.
Idol girl. Yeah. No. I was just saying that. Like Ichiko is almost a main character in this story.
Yeah,
compared to even the assistants and the editor.
Right. Other than Kakushi and Hime, I would say she is the next main character, and then the father-in-law is quickly climbing the ranks since he's directly plot relevant and all of that, and connected to Hime. But
I really want to have now the 10 Commandments for a YouTube reaction channel.
Oh man!
Like when I saw this and being adjusted, like the 10 promises between manga artists and readers, I was like, the 10 commandments between the reaction channel and the audience, and it's like,
damn!
I really want.
I
really want to make one of those.
I do too.
As like a joke.
Oh boy!
That's also like
kind of
30% serious.
Right. Exactly.
Like not 50-50. Like mostly joke.
But also
like touched with enough to where people go like
having those little spicy bits where it's like, oh yeah, that's right.
It's the truth in the comedy that hurts, so you laugh because you want to move away from the pain.
Yeah. And I gotta just say, as far as the balance of the comedy and the feelsy moments in the show as it goes on,
it's getting better.
Getting better and better. And not just that, like it's like the comedy's hitting harder or something like that. But originally, I felt like it was something where the feelsy moments were just sort of sprinkled in, where it's like, ooh, that's a nice little like
now they're
bit of
so
heat.
Yeah, they're so laced into the comedy that you're like, I can't laugh at that. This is just sad. This hurts, y'all.
Right, exactly. And it builds this sense of like tension and escalation in me, where I'm like, what what's going to happen. And I feel like that's almost that's really good to have, because if Kakushi's gonna die, right, then that's you gotta prepare us for that, man. Like,
you gotta slowly give us like the ramp up to the top of the roller coaster. You know what I mean? Like, before we go down and then do the spiral loops and all that. Like, I need to make sure that I'm fully ventilated of all my fluids and stuff, so I'm not, dirtying the ground.
Not becoming one of the assistants, and they find out that they're not gonna get a puppy. But oh man,
yeah, this is the show where it's like, you must be properly hydrated before watching the show. And I'm like,
Tear fuel.
No.
Dehydrate.
Make sure to dehydrate yourself so you don't drown.
Yep. Okay.
The little thing of the cuteness of like owners and dogs and looking like each other, and it's like, no, this is also something with like manga and sharing like assistants, that then their art starts to look similar. There was this vibe I got of characters starting to look like, the others. And this is a really dumb, just weird observation there, but it felt like with the glow up that they gave for Ichiko, where she's, in the dress and stuff, and not wearing a tracksuit, and her hair is nice and long and wavy and stuff. It felt like she looked a little bit like Hime. Now, this is a weird thing to say, because, in some ways, Hime looks like her mom, identically.
Well, and Ichiko definitely wants to be like the mom in that she likes Kakushi.
She likes Kakushi. So I was wondering...
Yeah.
Because I don't think this is necessarily something that was intentional, but because I was already thinking about the thing of like, who does everyone like? Who does everyone love?
Yeah.
And there's very clear relationships going on here.
Yep.
Except with Ichiko is the one character who has that like singular aspect of her character within her like interactions. Like, they're all funneled through really Kakushi.
Yeah.
Other than Hime.
Well, and the similarities that I would say that I see between Ichiko and Hime is that oftentimes Hime is wearing some kind of like sundress or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Also, Ichiko's frame is really slight, and I feel like that's easy to miss when she's wearing the tracksuit that's a bit more baggy, but then also when she's swinging around that riot thing,
Yes. Being like a badass, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe, and her hair is longer, so it's a bit more similar in that respect. But yeah, I don't know. One of the things that I did think of, though, with regards to the whole looking like people, is that that's a great representation of why exactly Kakushi wants to keep Hime away from the father-in-law. Because he does not want Hime to at all start looking like the father-in-law.
I've cut off that side of the lineage thing.
Exactly.
In the unfortunate tragedy of there literally being a lineage cut off with my wife passing away. Yeah. So he's started fresh.
Yep.
And yet he holds everything in that warehouse for that moment when he's ready to pass on his lineage to Hime.
And that's probably, again, why he doesn't want to tell her about the fact that he's a manga artist, right? Because it's I don't want her to really be looking like that version of me, Yeah. But then at the same time, it's like, well, if you're not doing that, then she's going to start looking like a fake version of you, right?
Or a version of you that will be hard to maintain the longer and longer you do it.
And it's just
or
pain.
Or the freaky thing is, it might get easier. And then, is she really connecting with you at all?
Yep. And yep.
Yeah. So, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.